¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. It is back to your regular scheduled programming. Howdy. Hey Heat, how's it going? Dendera, how's it going? Renardus, how's it going? Howdy. Welcome. Welcome everybody. It looks like there has been quite the signs of escalation in the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. It doesn't look too good. How are you doing, ADT? I'm hanging in there. I got my coffee. Although I have to be quite honest, I didn't get enough coffee, so I may need to run out and get some more. We'll see. Oh no, I am sus. It's on my shirt. You were so smart not to speak on it from the beginning. Some people really messed up. Yeah, it's almost like, and hear me out, it's almost like maybe we should keep our heads leveled and wait until things unfold. That being said, I was not incapable. I was not incapable of criticizing the language that was coming out of our government, while also not giving any credence to what Russia was doing. I said from the beginning what Russia was doing was not good, bad, really, really bad. Vladimir Putin is not a friend. Hey, Alio, how's it going? What's sus? My shirt. It says it right here. It's official. I got my little Among Us shirt. I haven't played Among Us in quite some time. Is that game still a thing? It probably is, right? There was like some new update, and one of the new maps that I played a while ago, this is during last year and a half ago, I would say. I don't know anymore. Time has just warped away from me to the point where I unironically think I've time warped a year because of this pandemic. Not kidding. I feel like I time warped a year. On Saturday, Putin said 3 times he wants an American black woman. What? That's kind of weird, champ, there. If Vladimir Putin said that, that's kind of weird, champ. Vladimir Putin, weird champin'. My time frame is way off. A week feels like a day. Yeah, like sometimes, especially during this pandemic, like I've time warped a year. So on Saturday, it was our anniversary. And, it was our anniversary, and we thought it was 4 years. We thought it was 4 years, and we're like, oh yeah, 4 years, that's pretty cool. And then Bree, our co-host, immediately said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, because I moved in 2018, so you must have been together since 2017. That's 5 years. And then we looked at each other like, wait a minute. Once I was bringing this up, we're like, huh, yeah, 5 years. That is wild. Oh, this is a good meme. Don't you love bots? Let's see if I can get... there we... Oh, wait, I can do this. Yeah, you can't ban the Restream bot, but I can from here. But what we can do is just get rid of these spam comments from the bot. There we go. Look at that. I'm literally 1984 over here. Hey Astro, how's it going? London is grey and wet, just as it should be. Just as it should be. So fresh and so clean. True, look at that chat. No more bots. For some reason, the moderation tools on YouTube is so bizarre and unfunctional that I have to do it through here. No, I'm not blocking Restream. I'm blocking the bot itself behind it. Behind the scenes. It's unusually warm here in Michigan, and the snow is melting and everything is mush. Oof. Wait, why isn't it coming through Restream? Huh. Okay. Let's see. What if I go to my YouTube channel? I need to test something. What if I go to my YouTube channel? Whoa. Huh. Okay, there we go. It's good. Cool. Isn't that neat? Howdy, howdy. Meanwhile, I haven't even brought up any of the articles that we're supposed to talk about today. Jesus. I'm so behind. I put hemp milk in my coffee because I'm out of oat milk and it's nasty. What? You can make milk out of hemp? That is interesting. I gotta be honest. The best milk for, the best milk for coffee is, sweetened vanilla soy milk. That's it. That's the only milk, non-dairy milk that I will endorse for coffee. Or the only creamer add-on for coffee. I use hemp milk for cooking. Huh. I did not know that. I learned something new today. Look at that. Cashew's milk is yummy? What? I need to try that one. I've been reluctant to try cashew milk. There was like a hybrid soy and I want to say oat kind of mix that mimics real whole milk, and it just came out from the same brand. I wish I could remember. I think the brand is called Silk or something like that. And it actually tastes pretty darn good. It actually tastes pretty darn good. Oop. Trying to get everything over here. Stop it. Alright. We're slowly getting ourselves situated. Cashew's milk is creamier and great in coffee. Gotcha. The one that like I used to try back in the day was almond milk, but I realized that I actually can't put almond milk in my coffee. I don't know if it's me that's doing it wrong, but every single time I would try almond milk in my coffee, it wouldn't really quite mix well, and it would just not taste very good in coffee. You can drink almond milk by itself, but you know, I would probably just stick with what I have. I mean, there is lactate milk. I like almond milk in my cereal. What? Oat milk is a better alternative. I agree. I agree. I don't like I, I wouldn't put almond milk in cereal. Why? Why would you do that? It doesn't go in coffee and it doesn't go in cereal. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Yeah, nowadays, for sure. Nowadays, they make so much different choices. I just ended up liking this one. I just ended up liking this one. It tastes great in coffee. I don't even have to do anything to the coffee, like at all. I don't have to add sugar. I don't have to add anything. Okay, I think I got all the headlines. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different choices, and they're getting better by the day. They're getting better by the day. I'm telling you, that new product, that new hybrid version of like soy milk plus oat milk or some kind of blend that they created, makes it so that it tastes almost like indistinguishable. I mean, you really have to know from whole milk, and it's pretty darn good. All plant-based and not too expensive either. Hemp is good for everything but milk in my coffee. I would imagine so. I've never seen hemp milk, so oh man. I heard someone say the other day that hempcrete was actually a scam. What? How? There's even houses made of hemp blocks and printed like plastic now. Kind of, yes. It is. There are hempcrete like this. What? How could it be a scam? Like, what was the evidence for that? Pretty sure we watched a nice documentary on it yesterday. A tiny documentary on hempcrete. Right, I sent that video. Yep. I was trying to remember when we watched the hempcrete. Yeah. No, it can't biodegrade. It was, I think they addressed that. I forget what they do to it. They treat it with some coating and whatnot. Oh, maybe the company could be Sketch, but I don't think the actual technology is. My plan is to wait till my house can be built from some super new alternative process. I use humans, so I don't need to commit a 30-year mortgage for a box of planks, which a hurricane will likely blow over. I mean, yeah, that's one way of doing it. That is one way of doing it. I mean, the hemp blocks that we saw yesterday was pretty promising. What? I thought I blocked this. Okay. Wait. Huh. Is it the same account? Okay. Is it the same account, or is there some slight character difference that I'm missing here? This is a family stream. God dang it. I like the squeaky clean. I agree with the video, but there are major logistics and other issues. I'll put my concern. Yeah, I mean, sure. The thing is, like, I still believe that if we have this technology available to us, which is miles ahead, my goodness. These bots, I'm telling you. If we have the capability to have this technology available, then we should be moving everything towards that. We should be moving towards that. The first is that hydrated lime comes from mining rock, and the energy to cook the rock and crush is an issue. Sure, I'm sure that there's going to be some type of upfront cost, but there can be ways of even making those type of processes more sustainable, right? We can even have the capability to melt or to have the energy to do steel with renewable energy. If we can make that happen, because it exists, then I'm pretty sure we can make the energy available to do that. So I think it's possible, and because it's possible, then we should be doing everything we can to move in that direction. Anyways, the reason why I said dang it earlier was because now my YouTube suggestions are messed up because we watched the quartering video the other day. The amount of land, man, and power in farming and shipping is a huge logistics. Yeah, but all of that can have all of that can be made so that it is as sustainable as possible, right? I mean, shipping, you could make shipping definitely a lot more sustainable than it is now. There are ways of making alternative fuels like hemp fuel. There are ways of making sure that the transportation end of it doesn't take that much, if at all, fossil fuels. I mean, manpower, well, those are jobs, yeah? There are steam-powered motorcycles, yep. It also uses water and it's organic, so it might rot. Well, we got to test that. The reality is, because it's possible, we should be trying it and seeing what the limits are and moving in that direction. Because the alternative is not acceptable. Yeah, we should be trying. Yeah, we should be moving everything that we could possibly be doing. That's what we should be doing. I'm also wondering if we should replace every concrete and brick building with this stuff. I think that we can make current buildings more sustainable, and we can retrofit some buildings with some methods of reducing emissions. I'm not quite sure what the extent of technology we have available to us, but there are things that we can do to retrofit already existing buildings. And of course, I don't know what the cost would be, what the environmental cost would be to replace every single building. But for sure, there are much better and much more sustainable methods of going forward. So I'm not convinced that we have to replace every concrete and brick building. There are things that we can retrofit on these things, on these already built structures, but I'm not sure that the answer would then be tear them down and rebuild them. Yeah, tearing down buildings that are still useful isn't green. Yeah, because then how do you tear them down? Well, these things cost. Plus, there are historical buildings, sure. I just think that going forward, we have enough to say that we can move in a more sustainable building code, more sustainable building methods, which I think are fantastic and should be funded. The guys said the video that the cost was slightly higher than the conventional medicine, right? Which is, if it's almost the same, if it's borderline almost the same, then if you get some type of like government subsidy or something like that, or like whatever tax refund, maybe something like that, to make it like indistinguishable and sustainable, then we should be doing that. Then we should be doing that and see just how far we can go. Either way, interesting stuff. Yesterday we found some cool adobe buildings in this town. Nice. Basically mud. One was trimmed in decorative tin. That's cool. Cool. Alright, we've got most of our... Oh, that is... Yeah, that's true, Tendera. It is 2:22:22. What? 2:22:22. Interesting. Alright, folks, we've got most of our headlines ready here. Come on. Posted to Discord, cool. It feels like the end of the world in 2012, true. Lots of things feel ominous for sure. Did our bot leave already? I think our... What is the name of that bot? Loveface. Loveface.xyz. I think has finally given up. Alright. Kicking off today's news, money unites. Republicans and Democrats find rare bipartisanship over trading stocks. Despite wide public support for banning lawmakers from trading stocks, members of both parties have expressed anxiety about the idea. What? How can you have anxiety out of this idea? Nancy Pelosi did not expect to set off such a firestorm with her use of 3 words: free market economy. What? Oh yeah, that's right. Because free market, I should be allowed to use my influence and my information to trade stocks. Because there could be nothing wrong with that. There could be nothing wrong with that. How could you say free market when you know that you have a asymmetric information that the public doesn't have, giving you an edge? Therefore, it wouldn't be a free market anyways, because you're like the Speaker of the House. You have so much information that other people don't. So it's not? Okay. I feel like if you click a YouTube bot link, your phone will self-destruct. That's exactly what happens. What's her husband own? I have no idea. When the speaker was asked in December whether she supports proposals to ban members and their spouses from trading individual stocks, she said, "No, we're a free market economy." What? I know it's a large company. Like a CEO, maybe? I don't know. They should be able to participate in that. No, no, they shouldn't. Full stop. No elected official should be able to participate in stocks, in stock trading, insider. Well, it would be tantamount to insider trading. But Pelosi's comments sparked ire among government ethics experts and editorial boards who argued that lawmakers' ability to glean information from classified briefings and stakeholder meetings raised the possibility of insider trading. Right, it is insider trading, because regardless of how you look at it, if you have undue information that the public isn't aware of, because you have access to classified briefings or information that may come to you, even if it's by chance, that you see because you are the Speaker of the House, that by default means that you have, it basically is insider trading regardless of your intentions. Some critics also noted that Pelosi's husband, Paul, recently netted a gain of more than $5 billion from trading stocks of Alphabet, Google's parent company. That's a nice meme. In the face of backlash, Pelosi has changed her tune. Pelosi has changed her tune in the stock trading issue, but her hesitation highlighted an uncomfortable truth about how Congress responded to the proposal. Yeah, like you can't take that reaction back, right? Despite wide public support for banning lawmakers from trading stocks, members of both parties have expressed anxiety about the idea. A rare moment of bipartisanship in a divided America, but whose subject, stock trading politicians, is unlikely to please many voters. Bipartisan support for making sure that we raised the military budget by tens of billions of dollars. Now that's some bipartisan support. Bipartisan support in the grand old American tradition of trying to stoke conflict. That's bipartisan. And of course, the most bipartisan is to make sure that we are allowed to engage in insider trading. Yeah. Send your kids to private safer schools, get great healthcare guaranteed by the U.S. government, and insider trading is okay. Sorry, Martha Stewart. That's right. And they're bipartisan in Congress is military spending and stock trading. That's the real bipartisanship. Truly something that the American people have decided to come together and agree on is increasing the military budget by tens of billions of dollars and allowing their elected representatives to engage in insider trading. Yeah. Truly talking about the kitchen table issues over here. Government watchdog groups warn that if Congress fails to act on this issue, it will only intensify Americans' many concerns over how money has tainted their political institutions. Yeah, okay. The debate over banning member stock trading has been reinvigorated in recent months after a string of high-profile controversies at the start of the coronavirus pandemic. In February 2020, Republican Senator Richard Burr sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stock before the market suffered a severe setback in the next month. While he was overseeing those valuable stock trades, Burr was also publicly downplaying the threat of the virus. The Justice Department investigated Barr and 3 Senate colleagues, Republicans Kelly Loeffler, James Inhofe, and Democrat Dianne Feinstein for potential insider trading, but ultimately, no charges were filed because, of course. Honestly, I'm kind of torn about the idea of limited trading. I would much rather prefer more Overwatch, like a special arm at the IRS that investigates only government employees and nah, fuck that. I think that they should be completely barred. If you're an elected official, you should be completely barred from engaging in any of this in any way, shape, or form. Like, just hard stop. Pelosi, the Democrat, and her husband have a wealth of about $115 million. Nice. Good memes. In response to the outcry, I have a wrath of 150 mil, but it's worth noting. It's worth nothing. In response to the outcry over these controversies, both Democrats and Republicans have proposed bills to crack down on member stock trading. There's already supposedly guardrails for this, but a lot of times they just kind of ignore it. That's really that's really part of the problem too. One bill introduced by Democratic Senators John Ossoff and Mark Kelly would require members, their spouses, and dependent children to place their stock portfolios in a blind trust controlled by an outside party. Republican Senator Josh Hawley has proposed a similar bill, although his legislation does not cover dependent children and would not fine members' salaries for violations as the Ossoff-Kelly bill would. Over in the House, Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Republican Chip Roy have introduced a similar bill to the Ossoff Kelly proposal, and more than 50 members have signed as co-sponsors to the separate Ban Conflicted Trading Act. That bill, which was first introduced by Democrat Rajat Krishnamurthy, would ban members and senior congressional staffers from trading individual stocks. True. It has really gotten to the point where it's getting a little bit too difficult for the rest of Congress to ignore, said AOC, a co-sponsor of Krishnamurthy's bill, said at a town hall on Tuesday. The fact of the matter is we shouldn't be able to day trade the companies whose regulation and whose hearings and industries and businesses before Congress. Yeah, I mean, like, in the most simplest forms, that's basically it right there. Just like campaign funds, they just do whatever they want and barely get in trouble. True. A majority of Americans agree with her. According to a January poll from the progressive firm Data for Progress, 67% of U.S. voters say lawmakers should be banned from trading stocks. Yeah, full stop. Full stop. Because, like, again, it just is way too close to conflict of interest to even allow the possibility for any type of engagement or any type of engaging in this behavior. Full stop. It should just be banned. Sorry. You guys make six figures, right? 170 something thousand per year, plus the overwhelming cushion of governmental healthcare and all these kind of perks and benefits. The majority of your expenses are covered if you have to travel for business, for government business. All of these are pretty much almost taken care of. So there's no reason that you need to be engaging in stock trading whatsoever, especially if these are the same people that sit in committees that hear companies' businesses and regulations, all of this stuff. No matter how you throw it, no matter how you put it, there's a massive conflict of interest. 140K? No, I think that their salary is like 170 something. Oh, hello, kitty. The average congressperson is like 170 something $1,000. Oh. What does the bill look like? Does it only ban members of Congress? What about family? Could we get Ginny Thomas situation where a member of Congress is banned but their spouse isn't? Dude. Did you not? Maybe you tapped out for a second, but it bans spouses and dependent children. Uh, 60% of U.S. voters said lawmakers should be banned from trading stocks. Another survey conducted by the conservative advocacy group Convention of States Action found that 76% of voters believe lawmakers and their spouses have an unfair advantage in the stock market. Yeah, no kidding, because you have asymmetric information here. Of course you have an undue advantage. Therefore, no matter what, even if you didn't expect it to happen, it's still, I would say, no matter how you slice it, tantamount to insider trading. If a person who deals with classified information or who gets reports and is a member of Congress, they have more information than the public. That is just a fact. Therefore, whatever engagements that they do when it comes to stocks is by default, in my opinion, insider trading. Yeah, here, Thundera. That's pretty good, yeah. The average salary, the salaries of the member of U.S. Congress, senators and House representatives are $174,000. So there's no reason why you need to be engaging on this, in this behavior. That's why they came down so hard on Robinhood. Can't have the little guys win. I don't know what the whole deal with that one was. I think this was related to Wall Street bets, and I don't know. A lot of sketchy stuff happened with regards to that. Not sure. I thought it was 140. Maybe at one point, yes. Maybe at one point. But yeah. So these folks do not need... these folks are rich enough, alright? They're well compensated. They get a lot of their... They get a lot of their expenses paid and covered. They've got healthcare. They've got all kinds of security. There's no reason for them to be engaging in this behavior, okay? So, you know what? No. You shouldn't be. In my opinion, this is not just for Congress, or like the Senate and, the House. Any elected official that people voted in for should not be allowed to engage in that until their time is up. Yeah, that's pretty good. I agree, Tornado Kane. I agree. I think that they should pass this. This is why I can't get mad at Bernie's wealth. He can't change it by himself. Well, the wealth that Bernie has gathered, first of all, dude's like 80 something. Dude's like almost 80 years old. Okay, and you're just now hitting the millionaire class. Furthermore, that only happened because of his book deal. That's it. That only happened because of his book thing kicked off. Are you gonna hang out, kitty? Come on. You gonna help me do the news? Yeah, plus lifetime pension and healthcare just after DAC. Yeah, they're fine. They don't need to be engaging in any of this whatsoever. Come on, kitty. It's okay. Come on. Do you want to come up here and do the news? Come on. It's okay. The assumption is that congressional salaries rise with inflation. They're the only salaries that do. Well, they vote for that, don't they? I think they vote for that. Oh, you can't see the cat. But she's here. Here, I got her tail. Look at that. Little tail. Yeah, not to mention the quality of healthcare they're afforded. Drew. It's light years away if we simpletons get. I'm assuming the bill allows them to invest in a blind trust. I think they mentioned that. Yep, let me go back. Yes, they have to put it in a blind trust that's controlled by an outside party. I personally would go even farther and say that no, they just shouldn't be allowed, full stop. Oh, stop it, kitty. Conducted by the conservative advocacy group Convention of States Action found that 76% of voters believe lawmakers and their spouses have an unfair advantage in the stock market. Yeah. It is illegal for members of Congress or any American to engage in insider trading. However, insider trading is very difficult to prove. So in 2012, Congress passed Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Stock Act to address concern about lawmakers' financial activities. The law prohibits members from using information gained through work of their own personal profit and requires them to disclose stock trades within 45 days. Both Democratic and Republican lawmakers have pointed to the existing legislation to argue that banning members from trading stocks against, but they never enforce it. Argue against banning members from trading stocks. Republican Congressman Pete Sessions has described the ban as unnecessary, while one of his Democratic colleagues attacked the proposal as BS. What? That's ridiculous. Why would you assume that members of Congress are going to be inherently bad or corrupt? What? What? Wait. Why would you assume that members of Congress are going to be inherently bad or corrupt? Have you seen our Congress? This is a good meme. We already have the Stock Act that requires people to report stock trades. Yeah. Except they don't. And quite often, there's a lot of, oopsies, I forgot. By the way, I did this, and this. Like, alright, well... okay. This is like asking a corporation to, like, self-police. Luria, which is the Democratic colleague, told Punchbowl News earlier this month that I'm very strongly opposed to any legislation. Why? Do you have anything to tell us? Advocates for a stock trading ban were quick to note that Luria and her husband own millions of dollars of stocks in Facebook, Netflix, and Apple, among other companies. That's a good meme. The next thing, Congress will have to work for free? No, they have plenty of money. They get 6 figures, incredible healthcare, protection, all, like, a lot of expenses covered. Nah, they don't need any of this. Advocates for a stock trading ban were quick to note that Luria and her husband own millions of dollars. In stock. That's a good meme. Gee, I wonder why you would be strongly opposed to such things. Damn. Honestly, the stock trades by members of Congress just smell bad, regardless of which party is doing it. It just doesn't look good. Yeah, it doesn't look good because it isn't good, no matter how you slice it. Just by nature of being a congressional member, just by being a representative or a senator, that already gives you way more information than the average person. They have CEOs of any one of these companies testifying to Congress every month or so it's such a conflict of interest. Yeah, just by nature of being a congressperson or a senator. Honestly, stock trade by members, it just smells bad regardless of which party is doing it. It doesn't look good, said R.L. Miller, the political director of Climate Hawk's Vote. Responding to Luria's comments specifically, Miller said that members of Congress expecting that they don't prioritize in companies in which they're invested in is bullshit. True. Miller's group is one of 18 progressive organizations that signed on to a letter urging Congress to hold a hearing on banning stock trades, arguing that the Stock Act and other existing laws have not served a sufficient deterrent to this problem. Enforcement of the Stock Act also appears to have been spotty at best over the past 10 years. No one has been ever prosecuted under the law. An investigation by Business Insider found that at least 55 members of Congress, 118 senior congressional staffers, were late in filing their stock trades in 2020 and 2021 alone. That's just alone. Howdy, Nakapayan. A late filing is supposed to be punished with a $200 fine that increases with subsequent offenses, but Congress does not keep any public records of such fines, and it's unclear how often they're collected. Spoiler alert, it's probably not very often, if at all. And $200 is not a lot of money for them. $200 would be the cost of doing business. I would pay $200 and then, make an oopsie and then end up making tens of thousands of dollars in a single trade or millions, whatever, in the future. Yeah, that's nothing. The teeth behind the Stock Act are basically non-existent. Yeah, we're seeing reporting and disclosure do not actually act as any kind of deterrent to do things that look, at the very least, pretty sketchy, because they are. Government watch groups also argue that the Stock Act is now somewhat outdated. They say legislation does not properly account for how lawmakers can use a 24-hour news cycle on social media platforms to impact markets of specific company share prices. Yeah, like they can get out there and like say one thing or, I don't know, make a harsh statement against another country or make a Saber Radley statement, make the market kind of shake and buy the dip. All of course, coincidentally, their family member buys the dip, and then that's it. They make a ton of money, and that's, insider trading. Kitty, what you doing, cat? Oof. Like, slap me with her tail. Okay. We have seen countless examples. I mean, like, you can take an example of, like, a Donald Trump speech that could like move markets, right? A Joe Biden speech can move markets. This is like not unheard of. We've seen countless examples of how members, not just as a body but individual members, can influence the stock market with a range of tools at their disposal. Now we're at a place in history and on the Hill where individual members of Congress can influence stock prices with a tweet. True. Groups like Crew are hopeful that the momentum for passing a stock trading ban will soon translate into congressional action. Good luck. Despite her initial reluctance, Pelosi has now adopted a more open-minded tone about the proposal, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has said that the upper chamber should address the issue. I think that this is sort of an easy win that will have a very positive impact on policymaking and public-facing democracy. I mean, it's something small that you can do, at the very least. Have your members not be engaging in insider trading would be nice. Yeah, that would be kind of nice. We'll see. The enactment of a stock trading ban would have the additional benefit of boosting the public's opinion of Congress, which has suffered in recent years. Gee, I wonder why. According to Gallup's January polling, only 18% of Americans approve of how Congress is handling its job. Damn. Advocates for proposed stock trading ban said the policy would bolster public confidence in one of America's most important political institutions. From 18% to 20? It would be a nice step. Anything that can restore Americans' trust in Congress is a good thing. This would help rebut the appearance of double dealing and go a long way towards restoring Americans' trust in their leadership. Kind of. I mean, again, it isn't the end all be all. But it would be nice if we could eliminate these type of conflicts of interest. I mean, we have these supposed checks and balances for the executive branch. Like, you can't take emoluments. That's the whole point of the emoluments clause. This would be similar. This would be similar or serve a similar purpose, at least, right? Because the whole point is to attempt or at least mitigate conflicts of interest. At least that's the idea. It would be a tiny W, a lowercase w, but a W nonetheless. For those members who are hesitant to give up their stocks, Hedler suggested that they should reconsider chosen career. Yeah, what? To become a member of Congress is an extraordinary prestigious thing, but it's not compulsory. There's a number of sacrifices you have to make to run for office. If this is a problem, then you're not required to run for office. True. True. I seriously hope that they pass something very similar to this, because it would eliminate some, albeit small, but it would eliminate some type of corruption, at least a little bit. Alright, let's get into this one. State attorney generals and the House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol are digging deep into the role that fake slate of electors played in Donald Trump's desperate effort to cling to power after his defeat in the 2020 election. Electors in seven battleground states signed certificates falsely stating that Trump, not Democratic candidate Joe Biden, had won their states. They mailed those certificates to the National Archives in Congress, where they were ignored, obviously. Now those certificates are getting a second look from lawmakers as they conduct an expansive review of the riots on January 6th and the events preceding it. More than a dozen people have been subpoenaed so far. A look at who the electors are and how this scheme unfolded and why lawmakers are investigating. Yeah, like this would kind of ask or expose even further the fragility of the Electoral College. I mean, if you can subvert an entire election by shoehorning in fake electors, that's pretty disturbing. I mean, you're supposed to ignore obvious, you're supposed to ignore, as the certification process goes, any false electors or anything that isn't already certified. Here's the problem. What if, like in Arizona, where we have a just off-the-rails person, just a deluded person running for Secretary of State, who does have that power, who does have the power to throw out any electors until they get the ones they like, or just not certify results and kind of take us into a litigation loop, such as what the Republican Party is trying to do in Arizona. What happens if that ends up being the case? Not good. Electors are people appointed by state parties, sometimes before the general election, to represent voters. The job is often given to current and former party officials, state lawmakers, and party activists. The winner of the state's popular vote determines which party electors are sent to the Electoral College, which convenes in December after the election to certify the winner of the White House. Yeah, like democracy, but like with extra steps. Okay, there's very, very little guidance in the Constitution about the qualifications of electors, except that no senator, representative, or person holding federal office can be appointed to the position. Jesus Christ. After the Civil War, the 14th Amendment also specified that state officials who have engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. cannot serve as an elector. Obviously. There are currently 538 electors, matching the number of U.S. senators and representatives, plus 3 for the District of Columbia, which gets those electoral votes even though it has no voting representation in Congress. Once chosen to be an elector, members gather in their respective state capitals on the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December to certify the statewide popular vote winner. Each elector gets 2 votes, 1 for president and 1 for vice president, through a process laid out by the 12th Amendment. To cast the votes, each elector signs 6 certificates. 1 gets mailed to the Senate President, 2 go to the State Secretary of State, and 2 go to the National Archives. The last one is sent to a local judge. Once the certificates are sent, Congress gathers on January 6 at 1 p.m. for a joint session to tally the votes in the Electoral College. The process is prescribed by federal law and up to 2020 mostly routine. The sitting vice president, in 2021 it was Vice President Mike Pence, presides over the session and opens the vote certificates from each state in alphabetical order. After the certificates are opened, they're passed off to the 4 tellers, 2 from the House and 2 from the Senate, who announce the results. The House teller include 1 representative from each party and are appointed by the House Speaker at the end of the count. Vice President announces the name of the next president. The certification of the results on January 6 of 2021 was upended as a mob of Trump supporters fought past police and broke into the Capitol, halting the process and forcing lawmakers and Pence into hiding. Biden's victory in the Electoral College was certified in the early morning of January 7 after it took police all day to clear the rioters and secure the building. On December 14th of 2021, as Democratic electors in key swing states met at their seat of state government to cast their votes, Republicans who would have been electors had Trump won gathered as well. They declared themselves the rightful electors and submitted false Electoral College certificates declaring Trump the winner of presidential elections in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, New Mexico, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Those certificates from the, quote, alternate electors in 7 states were sent to Congress. Several of Trump's Republican allies in the House and Senate used them to justify delaying or blocking the certification. Yeah, this is insane. No, this is insane. Use them to delay or block the certification of the election during the joint session of Congress. 2 of the certificates from New Mexico and Pennsylvania, the fake electors, added a caveat saying the certificate was submitted in case they were later recognized. Yeah, good memes. This was probably done with the the legal advice of the likes of like Rudy Giuliani type of people who have a complete misunderstanding of how the process works. What do you think of this analogy? It's like from those standardized tests from school: capitalism, communism, fossil fuels, renewable energy. Maybe. The problem is you could still have you could still technically have there could be a scenario where where renewable energy just exists under capitalism. These are like, I don't know. That would have only been possible if Trump had won many of the several dozen legal challenges he filed in the weeks after the election. Instead, he lost them all because obviously there was no basis for any of these cases. But the lies about the election fraud from the former president and his allies ended up having grave consequences beyond the Electoral College certification, fueling deadly insurrection at the Capitol building that day. The attempt to throw the election did not succeed in part because centuries-old safeguards, while Congress and the National Archives received the fake certificates, only ones that were counted during the joint session were the official slates of electors from each of the swing states in question. Yeah, of course, it is their duty, technically, to only count the official, the official electors from the states. Except, like I said, what if you have a situation such as the one that could possibly happen in Arizona, where you get someone like the article that we went over yesterday, who is willing to then say, well, the official state electors are the ones that I deem official, and I'm going to continue to throw out electors and not certify elections from the state of Arizona until I get what I want, until I get the results that I want, and send those as the official slates of electors, and send those people as the official slates of electors for the state of Arizona, for example. That's a problem. That's a problem. Here we are. This guy, Mike Fincham. The role of Secretary of State is critical to smooth workings and integrity of elections in many states. Arizona included the post holders, the chief election officer with powers to certify election results, vet the legal status of candidates, and improve infrastructure such as voting machines. In short, they're in charge of conducting and counting the vote. Yeah. This guy is going to be in charge of certifying certify election votes. As concepts, I think they fit perfectly, and I can explain capitalism as a traditional way, the field process of getting things done, of managing people in place. Communism is a new system which has yet to be fully realized. It's what capitalism can morph into, like a caterpillar into a butterfly. Fossil fuels aren't the same that they're by default, but they help us transition into a new form. Energy that makes the original form pointless. The sooner we can people on board this way of thinking to win, which is why by win I mean stop suffering. Well, the thing is, like, that's an interesting way of viewing things. However, you got to get people on board with the idea that fossil fuels are problems to begin with. Yeah, I think that's probably the only issue you have. But other than that, I mean, like, I see what you're trying to say, but I feel like we don't even need the analogy. I feel like you can just describe it as such. You can just say that. Maybe. I don't know. Their problem, the same with capitalism. Yeah, that's true. Plus human greed, corruption, and incompetence in any system. True. That's why you do as many guardrails as possible to limit that. Yeah, so with people like this guy, truly, it kind of continues to destroy this notion that we need to keep this electoral college. When Pence was pressed by Trump allies to introduce the unofficial Trump electors to cast doubt on Biden's victory, he declined, and though Republicans in Congress filed challenges to several electoral college votes, none succeeded because obviously there's no basis in any of this. Lawmakers ultimately certified the results in Biden's win, but the insurrection and Trump's brazen campaign to throw the results have led to a bipartisan effort in Congress to update the laws governing the Electoral College and to ensure no future president can abuse the process to stay in power. The House wants to identify whether there was any fraudulent activity in the preparation of the fake Electoral College certificates. They're also looking into the people who planned and implemented the efforts in each of the 7 states. Attorney generals in New Mexico and Michigan are conducting their own investigations. At least 20 people in connection with the fake elector scheme have been subpoenaed by the House panel, including former Trump campaign members, state party officials, and state lawmakers. Jesus. While the false elector push was public at the time, lawmakers wanted to know more about the involvement of the Trump White House and the members of his campaign, in part to determine whether any crimes may have been committed. This is a coordinated effort, a multi-state effort, said California Representative Zoe Lofgren, a Democratic member of the committee, told MSNBC shortly after the first subpoenas were issued to the fake electors. The fake documents are similar, and we'd like to know who coordinated this and asked them to do this. Yeah, like, this is a half-baked plan with a woeful misunderstanding of how the process worked, which can only point to me, like, people like Rudy Giuliani would probably be some of the people who advised on how this works. I would not be surprised if he had a hand in this. Standardized taste scares some people, true. Alright, folks, we gotta talk about Nazis. We talked about the anti-Semitic material that was dropped in Florida. We talked about the anti-Semitic material that was dropped in, I want to say Chicago or Michigan. I'm pretty sure it was Detroit, Michigan, now that I'm thinking about it. Well, anti-Semitic materials dropped at 2 homes in In 2 Texas cities. Anti-Semitic and white separatist material were dropped at homes in 2 Texas cities in Sunday. The Colleyville Police Department said it was aware of the material in clear sandwich bags that have been left on driveways around the city. It's very similar. Very similar. The department said in a tweet that it had been in contact with the FBI and is investigating the situation as a hate crime. Local authorities said the flyers have also appeared in San Francisco, Miami, and Denver. Oh, I'm sorry, Denver. That's, A separate tweet from the department including a link to the report from NBC News published last month said that many, if not all, the flyers found that every single aspect of the COVID agenda is Jewish, of course. We went over that. We actually had a small picture of the flyer, and it was like trying to name all of the heads of like CDC, NIH, and all these other things. They were trying to say that all of this was a Jewish plot, of course. But one tiny problem. 5 seconds of scrutiny and you'll realize that not all these people are actually Jewish. I mean, like, literally 5 seconds into putting any kind of scrutiny, it just falls apart like a house of cards because it's not true, obviously. The flyers were in plastic bags and weighed down by rice or pebbles, listed Jewish government officials who had assisted in the United States response to COVID pandemic, according to NBC News. Flyers are also found in homes in Garland, Texas, according to the Dallas Morning News. One group dubbed the Goyim Defense League. Jesus Christ. Is reportedly behind the coronavirus-related anti-Semitic posters, according to the ADL. The ADL describes the group as a loose network of individuals connected by their virulent anti-Semitism. The anti-Semitic posters were found in Colleyville a little over a month after a rabbi and 4 congregants were held hostage at a synagogue in the city. Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember this. Okay, I remember this. All 4 were freed from the standoff. Authorities, yes, identified the British national as the hostage taker. Yikes. FBI Director Christopher Wray said the hostage situation in Congregation Beth Israel was an act of terrorism targeting the Jewish community. The congregation on Sunday said that a number of its members received these anti-Semitic flyers, according to the Dallas News. Anti-Semitic flyers have also been found in Houston, and materials included an image of Adolf Hitler with the caption, quote, "We can do it again." Yikes. No, there's no creativity to it. It's always the same BS conspiratorial story, and it's always, of course, Jewish people, according to them. This is unhinged, deluded, scary, and happening in 2022. These are not just small isolated events. This seems to have happened in cities, several cities across the country, from all the way to the west, from California, all the way to the east, in Florida, Miami Beach, I think Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. Wait, I missed it. What's happening? Nazis. That's what's happening. Remember how we went over the pamphlets that were dropped in, I think the one that we covered happened to be the ones that happened in here in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and I think Miami Beach also had these anti-Semitic pamphlets. Well, it happened again. It happened again in Texas cities. The same kind of deal, just blaming COVID or creating a pseudo JQ for COVID. That was my first time here. There you go. Thank you. So basically, it's happened all across from California to Florida. Yep. Cringe times 1,000. Cringe times 1,000. And it's the same MO too. It's the exact same MO where they would leave these things in sandwich bags or plastic baggies so that I guess that they wouldn't get damaged. I wonder if we can listen, I know I'm an audiophile and I would love to have the latest awesome, super special awesome sound gear. But unfortunately I no. $550? What? Anti-Semitic flyers left at hundreds of Miami Beach homes. Let's see if we can get an actual picture of what they look like. Yeah, this is what it looks like. I love how the bottom little asterisk, I don't know if you can read it. It says, these flyers are distributed randomly and without malicious intent. These flyers were distributed randomly. And by randomly, we mean in the largest Jewish community. But totally random. And without malicious intent. Yeah. Okie dokie. Yeah, it's practically the same time. Same as last time. Yeah. The exact same MO, exact same framework, I think. Yeah, totally gross. Honestly, I don't get it. Just leave each other alone. But I don't. I mean, I don't like people, but I dislike them equally. There you go. These are just mentally unwell people. That's all. Yeah, that's the equivalent of saying I'm just curious after asking some gross questions. Yeah. That's basically it. I don't mean any harm, or this was distributed randomly. It just so happens that the random area I chose was a prominent Jewish community. Yeah, anyways, TLDR, TLDR, F these people and stay safe, folks. Delusional. Absolutely delusional. Hey, here's some cool news. Fossil fuel giants seek billions from European countries under secretive treaty. Well, I don't know if it's secretive. It's more like a very old treaty that most people, even myself, were not aware of. Fossil fuel companies in Europe are using an international treaty signed nearly 3 decades ago to challenge several governments' abilities to take climate action, exemplifying why critics said Monday the 1994 Energy Charter Treaty is a major impediment to transitioning away from planet-heating fossil fuels and towards renewable energy. Under the treaty, companies including RWE and Uniper in Germany and Rockhopper in the UK are suing governments of Italy and Netherlands and Portland and other countries over their phasing out of coal power plants. Requiring for environmental impact assessments and blocking extraction projects. The Energy Charter Treaty was signed by more than 50 countries with the intention of protecting energy investments by individuals and foreign companies in former Soviet states. Since 2014, when investors in Moscow-based Energy Yukos were awarded $50 billion under the treaty, after it was found that Russian President Vladimir Putin had seized their assets, more than two-thirds of cases using the treaty have involved companies suing the European Union governments. The trend, and cases like those being currently argued by the German and British fossil fuel companies, has made the ECT a major blocker from shift from fossil fuels. Not long ago in the grand scheme of things, but long enough for people to kind of forget about. It is literally insane that the global fossil fuel phase-out is being actively sabotaged by antiquated treaties and corporate greed. No way. No way. Romain Lulianen, a global policy campaign manager for Oil Change International, said on Monday. These companies are seeking more than $4 billion. Nice. RWE and Uniper's lawsuits center around the Dutch government's decision to phase out the use of coal power by 2030. Yeah, like, imagine, like, this is the type of attitude, instead of being on board and saying, you know what, we are going to innovate, we are going to help, we are going to use our bajillions of dollars to make this happen. Instead, they've chosen to attempt to sue these governments for billions. They cited while the industry was hiding the impacts of fossil fuels. Let's just deduct those billions from the tens of trillions they owe the public. Yeah. Above all, like, if this is the attitude that the fossil fuel industry is going to take, if this is the childish attitude instead of innovating, like, remember the whole spiel, the whole, like, selling point. One of the selling points of capitalism is that it was going to be innovative and we're going to have the latest and greatest technology, and all of this profit incentive is going to drive innovation because that's just what people want. They want to chase the profit, so then they're geared towards innovating and creating and all this other stuff. That's not really what happens. That's a false, that's a fairy tale. That is a fairy tale. The reality is, there's just no incentive, not currently. And while they have the ability to maintain the monopoly, which is their end goal, because obviously a lot of our day-to-day requires fossil fuels, and they want to make it so, because God forbid, You were to touch a penny of the profits, they fight with tooth and nail for everything and anything that could disrupt that monopolizing force that they have. If these companies are incapable of giving us a legitimate, physical, and palpable plan that's actually actionable, that's an interesting alliteration, actually actionable, then they should just not exist. Sorry. These companies are seeking more than 4 billion RWs. Okay, yes. A lawyer representing Italy in the case brought by Rockhopper told the Financial Times that a legal victory for the companies would have extremely serious consequences and encourage other companies to emulate the oil firm. Yep. Italy has stopped Rockhopper from developing an oil field in the Adriatic Sea. Good. Court hearings under the ECT are kept confidential, and according to International Institute of Sustainable Development, the majority of known fossil fuel cases are decided in favor of the investors because that's what makes the world go round. In investor-state disputes, fossil fuel companies have been awarded an average sum of nearly 5 times more than the amount awarded in non-fossil fuel cases. I mean, these folks are getting rich to the tune of billions just by suing governments. The European Commission has proposed a phase-out of the ECT protection for fossil fuel firms, but signatories have thus far rejected the idea. Jesus. By allowing companies to seek often secret rewards as they challenge governments' right to protect public health and the planet, the ECT undermines the environmental protection and climate as well as democracy. Yeah. It's time to throw this treaty out. Yep, TLDR, I think that it's about that time. All of these like protections, subsidies, goodies. I think that's enough. I think that that's more than enough. This has been an outdated treaty. The USSR does not exist anymore. It is not necessary. It is not necessary, and it is actively harming any chance to move ourselves from fossil fuels. It is definitely a factor. These type of protections need to all be removed. Let me make sure I got everything ready here. Okay. Cool. Explosion Fire Rock Marathon Petroleum Oil Refinery in Louisiana. An explosion rocked the Louisiana oil refinery, Monday shaking homes and businesses as firefighters raced to douse the resulting blaze. One person was injured after the blast heard for miles around 9:30 a.m. local time at the refinery of Garyville. Marathon Petroleum said in a statement. Video showed smoke billowing from the site. Garyville is about 50 miles west of New Orleans and 50 miles southeast of Baton Rouge. The fire has been controlled and all employees and contract workers have been accounted for. The company spokesman Joe Gannon in an email to USA Today, one contract worker sustained an injury and is currently being evaluated at a local healthcare facility as a precaution. Air monitoring was deployed in the community and emergency responders were notified. The safety of the responders, employees, contractors, and the community are our top priority. Bro, your literal business involves poisoning the entire planet. You don't care about any of this. The State Department of Environmental Quality said some of the refinery was placed under shelter-in-place order and some workers were moved to a closed area to avoid contamination. Yeah. This is the price of fossil fuels.
Should be out here breathing this.
Yeah. St. John the Baptist Parish Sheriff. What? St. John the Baptist Parish Sheriff Mike Tigre's office posted a warning to residents on Facebook. Please avoid the area of West Airline Highway and Marathon Avenue due to officials working an incident. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. At around 10:25, Triggy gave the all clear and roads reopened. The explosions and fire were contained on the Marathon property. The refinery on the banks of the Mississippi has crude oil refining capacity of 578,000 barrels per day, according to the company website. A major expansion project was completed in 2009 that increased Garyville's crude refining capacity, making it one of the largest refineries in the U.S. Yeah. These are just the small prices we have to pay to maintain fossil fuels. It's just a small price of, air quality, the potential for these things to blow up, the potential for pipelines to spill, the ecological disaster, the health disasters that happen. It's just a small price of, small price to pay. Just a tiny bit, just a smidge, just a smidge. Just a smidge. You know what really doesn't have these problems and you don't have to worry about something like randomly blowing up? Yeah, renewables. You know what doesn't have these problems? Solar panels. You know what doesn't spontaneously explode to the point where you shake homes and businesses? Wind, solar, certain forms of hydroelectric energy. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to worry about the possibility of setting off an explosion that could shake homes and businesses? That would be nice, right? Instead of harboring the same businesses that create these problems in the first place, wouldn't it be just nice if we didn't have this to begin with? WTF is right. More good news. Antarctica will likely set an alarming new record this year. Yay. Surging global temperatures alter the landscape of the Arctic. Scientists are observing what's shaping up to be a new record at the other end of the globe. Preliminary data from the National Snow and Ice Data Center suggests Antarctica will likely set a record year for the lowest sea ice extent, the area of ocean covered by sea ice. On Wednesday, sea ice around the continent dropped lower than previously record minimums set in March of 2017. What's going on in the Arctic is an extreme event, Ted Scambos, a glaciologist at the University of Colorado Boulder and lead scientist at NSIDC, told CNN, but we've been through this a bit. Yes. What he means by this is a roller coaster of sea ice extent over the past couple of years of decades, swinging wildly from record high to record lows. Unlike the Arctic, where scientists say climate change is accelerating its impact, Antarctica's sea ice's extent is highly variable. There's a link between what's going on in Antarctica and the general warming trend around the rest of the world, but it's different from what we can see in mountain glaciers and what we see in the Arctic. Satellite data that stretches back to 1978 shows that the region was still producing record-high sea ice extent as recently as 2014 and 2015, then it suddenly plunged in 2016 and has stayed lower than average since. That kind of drop is pretty much unprecedented in the record. Marilyn Raphael, geography professor and director at UCLA's Institute of Environment and Sustainability, told CNN, Antarctic sea ice does vary from year to year, but it was bigger variation than what normally happens. Scientists say the recent shift doesn't yet necessarily signify a change in the long-term trend, but Raphael said the sea ice is retreating earlier now, which can be concerning. There are two parts of me that answer this. The scientist part that says wait a bit longer and see, that's my cautious part. The other part of me says this is an unusual variation of the ice. The degree is unusual, and it could be that's a sign that the climate is changing, and that's the speculation part. The rate of sea ice in the Arctic and Antarctic differs in part due because of their location and proximity to other continents. In the Arctic, surrounded by land, sea ice forms and extends throughout Europe, Asia, North America, and Greenland. Meanwhile, the Antarctic is a large continent surrounded by a vast ocean where sea ice can stretch across the Southern Ocean. Scambos said because the continents are warming rapidly, snow cover is melting earlier than usual and exposing the dark surface of the ground, which absorbs more heat, causing the Arctic to melt faster. In contrast, the Antarctic stays covered with ice, which reflects sunlight and keeps the surrounding air cooler. Despite the complex climate signals in Antarctica's record low sea ice, scientists point out that the increasing warming trend in the polar regions amplifies the consequences of the crisis globally. Polar regions really have a way of making these small changes a bigger deal. Either through sea level rise, which is a main cause of concern from Antarctica, or through warmer climate generally, because the Arctic is sort of the air conditioner for the places where most of us live in the northern hemisphere. Yeah. Think about that. He adds that it would take more than a decade of persistent downward trend in order to link the dwindling sea ice in the Antarctic to climate change, even though the temperature conditions in many parts of the Antarctica are already exhibiting a warming trend. But on the continent itself, some alarming effects of climate change have already started to take shape. Just last year, researchers, including Scambos, observed the critical ice shelf holding back the Thwaites Glacier, and in western Antarctica could shatter within the next 3 to 5 years, which could result in devastating sea level rise. That's going to be a good meme. We talked about this. From the camp in the middle of the Antarctic to their stations on the coast, researchers flew over to the gargantuan Thwaites Glacier, known as the Doomsday Glacier, for 2 hours. Scambos said that they could see massive cracks in the ice shelf, places where the ice is tearing apart. He said it's an example of how climate change impact in one very specific location could have consequences for the entire planet. If trends had to rearrange a little bit because fundamentally over the last 4 decades, Antarctica has been pushed around by changes in ocean temperature and the wind. The thing about Antarctica and sea ice, it's very unconstrained, sort of at the mercy of wind patterns, storms, snowfall, and ocean temperatures, and all these things have an impact. He said that the only rational way to tackle climate change is to rapidly adapt to the impacts and slash the planet-warming emissions that are the root cause of the crisis and have thrown our planet's most pristine places such as the Antarctic into a downward spiral. Recalling his time in West Antarctica, Scambos said that he looked in the horizon with the cracking ice shelf holding back the Doomsday Glacier in the background and saw sobering signs of what's likely to happen in the future. You realize how much more climate research needs to be done. It raises your level of concern quite a bit. I won't say it's scary because you're not scared in the moment. You're in awe of what's going on here. Yeah. Here we go. There are problems with those other form of energies is they have their own environmental concerns and thus are used to debate against their use. Okay. Can you provide an example? Alright, IPCC report, folks. I think this is part 2. Working Group 2. This will be the second of 3 major reports on the IPCC and its first since November COP26 summit. Scientists and officials will publish their conclusions on February 28th. The study will focus heavily on regional impacts as well as on cities and coastal communities. The IPCC carries out these large-scale reviews of the latest research on warming every 6 to 7 years on behalf of governments. This set of 3 is their 6th assessment report. Researchers are worked into 3 working groups that look at the basic science, scale of impacts, and options for tackling the problem. For many major cities and developing countries, the report will highlight that tackling climate change is not about cutting emissions and hitting net zero sometime in the future, but dealing with far more short-term threats. It's always the immediate that takes precedent. If you gotta deal with a big influx of migrants or massive flood events, that's where the focus is going to be, said Mark Watts, the executive director of C40 Group, a network of around 100 major cities that are collaborating to tackle climate change. In the global south, there really aren't any city climate program funds at the moment. Of those that exist, almost none of them are about adaptation. They're all trying to get poor countries that have relatively low emissions to reduce their emissions further, not about adapting to the impacts they're already feeling. Under the umbrella of the IPCC, scientists working on the report, who all volunteer for this work, review and write up thousands of papers to summarize the latest findings. Then they meet with governmental officials to go through their findings line by line. Upon reaching consensus, a short summary of their findings is published. The study will also outline key tipping points that are likely to be passed as the world warms, some of which are irreversible, like the disintegration of the Greenland ice sheet. The report will also look at some technological solutions to climate change, but is also quite dismissive of efforts to manage solar radiation or to even remove carbon dioxide from atmosphere. Overall, it would have much broader focus than just the science of what we can do about climate change. Yeah. Home to more than 24 million, Lagos in Nigeria's Africa's most populated city, but one that's usually vulnerable to flooding and sea level rise, making the situation worse is the problem of rubbish and waste that collects in canals and rivers. Dealing with this issue could be key to helping the city cope with the changes brought on by climate change. One of the things that need to change in Lagos to reduce the flooding impact is to actually get a grip of waste management system, supporting investing in the city for them to get really strong municipal waste collection, proper household collection. Getting it properly treated is going to solve 2 things at once. The report also talks about social justice more, and we'll talk about sustainable development. It does talk about sustainable development more. It does talk about indigenous and traditional knowledge, not just published in Western science. This is about the impact on people and nature and the risks they face and the limits to adaptation as well. True. But as scientists and officials meet virtually to thrash out the final details, a tussle has emerged over the key use of a key phrase in the text. For years, developing countries have been trying to get the richer world to respond within UN climate negotiations to the issue of loss and damage. They defined the phrase to mean the impacts of climate change that countries cannot adapt to, including severe weather such as major storms with slow onset events like sea level rise or desertification. Richer countries have long opposed the concept, fearing that they could be held legally and financially responsible for centuries for the disruption caused by historic emissions of carbon dioxide. Yeah, well, yeah. So if you don't know much about the topic, why would you make such a strong statement then? Habitat loss through large amounts of space they claim is required. They claim is required. Extensive water use and the use of hazardous material. There are concerns about how we create the, batteries and stuff like that. There are ways of making things more sustainable. There's ways of obtaining hydrogen from water instead of making things, destructive. There are ways of making closed loop systems with batteries. There are ways of making alternative systems of energy that do not require lithium at all. There are ways of making batteries and energy systems that do not require lithium at all. Yeah, so it seems like, they're expelling indigenous people from their territories to mine lithium from Brazil to Nevada. Right, and there are ways of, first of all, there are ways of making these things more sustainable. And second of all, there are technologies that exist right now that do not require lithium at all. The space they claim it requires more to sustain the system that we're in right now than it would be to be more sustainable. The whole point is to be more efficient and sustainable. Why would that be an issue? For years, developing countries have been trying to get the richer... has become a hugely divisive political issue within global climate talks. In this new report, the IPCC scientists are seeking to use a slightly amended version of the term, talking about losses and damages, which they say has a different, less political meaning. Okay, whatever. But officials from several richer governments attending the approval session have objected, fearing that the idea appears in a key that if the idea appears in a key report, it will give backing to those countries who want loss and damage to be top priority for international negotiations. First of all, yeah. Seawater can be used to produce lithium. Yeah, I'm pretty sure... Wait, did I say hydrogen? I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, and you can make closed-loop systems with this, so there's no need for that. Yeah, most of the other arguments are actually just not valid, to be quite frank. Loss and damage to top priority for international negotiations. Yes, it turns out it's going to require a large amount of investments to help these countries, because it helps all of us. It could even be used as a way to spread economic, cooperation. It is a fantastic way of building international cooperation. Nuclear fusion will be an energy source by 2030, and it will be just building these reactors. I'm not convinced that that's actually going to happen by 2030. And unfortunately, we don't have until 2030 to then say, oh, well, we finally have this, and then it'll take God knows how long. I'm not convinced 100%. I'm not 100% convinced that we will have a nuclear fusion by 2030. I think we have enough technology to move forward at this point. The whole focus should be on decoupling ourselves from fossil fuels. That's the whole point. That should be the priority. But officials from richer governments are attending the provisional... Yeah, it should be, though. Ultimately, this report will stress urgency that if rapid action is taken on cutting greenhouse gas emissions, on greenhouse gases and spending on helping people adapt, to climate change, then the worst of the risks can be avoided. But this hope has been measured against reality of politics, according to co-chairs Professor Hans Otto Portner. One key message has come out of previous reports: political will in terms of climate action is a bottleneck for a sustainable future. Damn, that is a very that is a very depressing statement. may take 20 years to build a reasonable number of reactors, which we don't have, because then it'll be by 2050. Versus, we could actually start to move into more renewable energy now, have a good amount set up by 2030, and we will be way ahead of the game. We will be way ahead of the game. Instead of waiting an extra 20 years when those years could be spent making everything as renewable as possible. Yeah. Nuclear waste is a huge problem. Yes, but I believe nuclear fusion is different. I believe nuclear fusion is different. The issue I'm having is the expense and the time. The expense and the time is really the issue here. Specifically with nuclear fusion, because I think that's a different process. That's a whole other different process that we, quite frankly, don't have yet done. We don't have that yet done. I don't believe that at all. We can manufacture stuff here. I don't believe that at all. And if so, what of it? You have to buy it from somewhere. You have to buy it from somewhere. I'm not too concerned with buying it from whoever. The point is that we need to remove ourselves from fossil fuels in whatever means possible that we have now, because it seems to me like we have enough technology at this point in time to basically say, okay, we can start moving these projects forward and decouple ourselves from fossil fuel. I mean, like, it is just enough for me to say that we can move forward with these projects. I will check into nuclear fusion. I'd like to research. Yeah, of course. Look into it. Like, again, my problem is that by the time we have all of these, I don't even know how quickly, if it's true that we will even get to that source by 2030, how much money that's going to cost, and how fast we can then deploy those working reactors is the concern. I've made some certain metals that are used in solar panels, but maybe they'll come up with a new tech soon. Maybe, but I honestly, at this point in time, this is a global issue. This isn't about, like, antagonizing. This is about trying to get the quickest way out of this, despite our disagreements, the quickest way out of this problem now. Now is really the issue. They're building commercial fusion in France right now. How quickly do you think that will be ready without an issue? I think the latest thing that we've got, as far as I know, was like 5 minutes or 5 seconds that they were able to sustain fusion for a tiny amount of time. That is as far as we've gotten, as far as I know. Maybe there's more updates on that, but we can check. And by then, we need to be already on our way out of fossil fuels before we lock in some very bad things, to say the least. The research reactor is in Oxford. It is only big enough to make 5 seconds of positive energy. Yeah. Yeah, so upon completion and construction of the main reactor, the first plasma planned for late 2025. So we've still got 3 more years. It will be the world's largest magnetic confinement plasma physics experiment and the largest experimental tokamak nuclear fusion reactor. So the experiment begins to see if we can actually make this happen. What are the details on this? The one you're talking about in France will be planned for late 2025. Then that's when the experiment begins, and at that point, meanwhile, these 3 years can be used to make as many construction projects as possible, to develop as many sustainable and renewable energy sources as possible. Because these are all in their experimental phases. Unfortunately, we don't have that time available to us. Maybe it can be developed in tandem. We can see what the ramifications are for that. But I think that this should take a back seat while we get ourselves off fossil fuels. The reactor by itself, this experiment, is going to be about 10 billion. This is the experiment itself. It's going to cost 10 billion, I think. Things that we just don't have time for, to be quite frank. We can build it in tandem. We can build it as a pet project on the side, or as a or put it on the back burner. But it shouldn't be something that should be prioritized. Fusion essentials does not stop at night or when the wind is not blowing. That's what batteries are for, my friend. That's what closed-loop produced batteries are for. And furthermore, there are other options that you can have for to keep the power going, which include hydroelectric, depending on where you are, as well. That does not rely on wind or sun, but nonetheless, our battery systems have been more than capable of providing that solution meanwhile. A multifaceted approach that includes several different renewable sources can be a way to mitigate that. And furthermore, offshore wind turbines, I believe, continuously run, as the wind is always... The wind is what makes these... the wind in the ocean is continuous. For the most part, I think. The wind in offshore turbines are very reliable. Plus, like I said, we've got better technology for batteries, which is fine. I believe you yourself gave us a video on how to produce batteries with air. Just getting stuff out of air. Developing energy out of thin air. All of this exists right now. We don't have to wait till 2025. We don't have to wait till this experiment works or may not work. I don't know how expensive it's going to be. I don't think we need to rely necessarily on that. We can have it as a parallel development or as a secondary tier. But it shouldn't be our priority, is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. There you go. What we don't have is the political will. Yeah, which is basically what the IPCC secondary working group seems to be acknowledging. Unfortunately. I mean, how messed up is it that we are at the behest of these large corporations and, for all intents and purposes, we're basically being told that as long as these corporations are making profit and, influencing government, then everything is okay. It really isn't a problem. No conflicts of interest. Everything is fine. We're being told that repeatedly. All to make a handful of people richer. We have accepted the fact that we can throw the entire planet off base for the sake of making a couple of people richer. That's the tragedy of this whole thing. Here we go. I think that's the channel you were referencing. Toddler body lol. I mean, those are English words. They're certainly words. I don't know what that has to do with any reference. Howdy. I hope you're well. I'm hanging in there, my friend. I'm hanging in there. Cope. Lamau. I mean, again, those are, well, mostly English words. What am I coping about? You seem to have trouble with making any kind of point. Are you okay? No, I don't think they're talking about that. Yeah, we're dealing with the troll in the classic way. We're dealing with the troll in the classic way. Exactly. I thought it was just being rude and personal. That's what it is. But, the cool thing about trolls... is that they have no power here. They have no power here. Right. Yeah, I don't know what they I don't think it has anything to do with Rittenhouse. It's like, if you're gonna come to troll this channel, nah. As a mod for several other channels, I am an excellent troll dispatcher. I mean, usually they come in here with some type of point or some type of sad attempt at maybe insults, maybe asking just asking questions kind of deal, sea lioning sometimes, depending on the nature of the troll. But this one seems to be incapable of doing any of them. I hope I'm as helpful as I am up to speed with renewable energy technology. These things change all the time. Mostly for the better. Oh yeah, and it's not asking questions. I'm just making observations. True. True. Most of the renewable technology and energy gathering, ways of making energy anyways, are constantly being changed, and quite often for the better. It seems to me like we have so much already on hand to be able to move forward with massive decoupling ourselves from fossil fuels. That's a bit too close to the sun there, Memo. Did you see the video of people in Rhode Island harassing a book reading? What? No. Jesus. Oh, this was... This was not that long ago. Jesus Christ. When police officers arrived, they roughly found 15 to 20 people allegedly from the neo-Nazi group gathered around the store front, striking the window of the Reading Community Library with their hands. According to police report of the incident, the group dispersed as police arrived with lights flashing, retreating to their cars and driving away. Yeah, allegedly, because, you gotta do that. Apparently, this Reading Community Library, which is a non-profit library, was reading and was having a gathering of oh, I'm sorry. Really quickly. Was gathering to read the Communist Manifesto, and a bunch of Nazis showed up with swastikas and stuff. This we went over a story earlier today, Memo, of how Nazi flyers were being sent around Texas, two cities of Texas, mimicking the same flyers that were being sent across the country, from California to, I think it was Denver, to it's a couple of cities in South Florida, and I believe there was another state. Of just like how the COVID-19 is a Jewish conspiracy. Yikes. Shows people, Twitter user, okay, well. Oh my god. Yikes. Totally normal shit happening in 2022. Jesus Christ. Yikes. Well, I guess that piggybacks off to our second story from today, I guess. Jesus. You see, our Archul didn't stay very long, did they? That was a short stay for Archul. Anyways, folks, unfortunately, that is all the time I have today. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Memo. That is wild. 2022, folks. And these people feel comfortable flying Nazi shit. Yeah, it's okay. It fit perfectly with the second story I covered earlier today. F these people. Jesus Christ. That being said, folks, please be aware, please stay safe, of course. Not good. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. Thank you so much, Heat. Thank you, Spread It Forward. Thank you, Astro, and all the folks who support the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you, Memo, for coming in. I appreciate that. Thank you for all the new follows. Thank you, Zio Duke. I see you. I think I got everybody. Alio, thank you so much. I appreciate that. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. That is unbelievable. 2022, folks. Alright, let's take a chill pill. Alio coming in hot with the 10 biddies as we're riding out. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate that. Let's take a chill pill, alright? Let's have some chill vibes. We're heading out to the Chaps channel. They do wonderful environmental work. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. See ya.